Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. I'm Matt and we've got a big one this week. We've got DC KO issue 1 by Scott Snyder, Javier Fernandez, Zermanico and Alejandro Sanchez. This is it. Darkseid has finally returned to Prime Earth and it's up to Earth's heroes, both in the past and present, to stop him. Before the fight begins though, we see a flash forward of Superman, who dons his special yellow sun knuckle dusters he calls Dawn's Days and readies for a fight. But as the giant doors before him open, the Man of Steel is shocked at what he sees. Sometime before, Clark is at a board game night with Lois, Bruce and Diana, quickly losing the game. Clark questions Diana's rules for the board game as Lois reminds the others that Clark doesn't like a game unless no one has to lose, which of course he doesn't. That's a goddamn Superman way of looking at things if ever I saw one. Even Lois begins to go in on Clark, beating him as well at the game, but soon the night takes a turn as Lois points out that it's suddenly gotten very bright outside. The heroes look out the window and find Darkseid has returned suddenly and he's as tall as the Metropolis skyline. The villain blasts apart the city and people with his Omega beams, turning them all, even the molecules and atoms, into him. God, I love the chaos that Scott just throws us into right here. We are caught so off guard by all of this, and so are the heroes, like Darkseid, the guy who famously died at the beginning of DC All In on the Watchtower, and has been this lingering mystery for the last year and a bit, is now suddenly here and he's just wreaking havoc. The narration, which is done by a mysterious third party, is also really cool too, as it helps set the tone for all of this, and it really bigs up the return here and just how it's not just some old villain coming back from the dead for another round. It's so much more now, as Darkseid is a literal universe. He's created a universe, and that universe is now blowing up downtown. The Trinity rush to confront the villain, who isn't just in Metropolis, but he's on Gotham, Themyscira, the Rock of Eternity, and even Oa, all at the same time. As his assault on the entire reality continues, Batman and Wonder Woman are killed, leaving only Superman to confront the former New God. Just as he's about to attack though, Superman is overcome by a terrible, horrible sound, one that stuns him long enough for Darkseid to blast him with his Omega Sanction, killing the Man of Steel. Luckily though, this is all one big shared vision, as the heroes in the present are returned to their bodies after having seen this thanks to the Quantum Quorum, the odd little team consisting of Time Trapper, the World Forger, Booster Gold and Gorilla Grodd. Time Trapper explains that this is all already happened, as Batman shows Clark a text he got from Lois reminding him of the game night in 1 week. Trapper tells the heroes that with the Quorum's combined power, they have managed to rewind time by 1 week, barely keeping Darkseid away from the present, but nothing will stop the inevitable. The heroes want to do something about it, but the Quorum knows that they can't, since every future now leads to Darkseid, and there is only one thing they can do: start over. World Forger shows them another vision, telling the heroes that they can use their powers to restart the timeline, something which happened before when Dr. Manhattan did it, but that timeline was reabsorbed into theirs. So I didn't think we'd be invoking the name and actions of Dr. Manhattan and the Doomsday Clock, but I like how Scott is using it as proof that maybe the timeline could restart again after the event, being that this is a crisis level event. But I don't think that's what's going to happen here at all. I don't think we're ever going to reset back to number 1 like we did with the New 52. He really lets it be known here, as we've seen that done time and time again, and it never really ends well. Heroes know that without their history they would be nothing, but the Trapper knows that they would at least be alive. But even still, the heroes refuse to run from a fight. Batman asks how did Darkseid become this god being, so World Forger shows him yet another vision, showing the absolute Earth, and how all universes are full of Alpha and Omega energies, with Alpha representing the creation and life, but Omega is that of conquest, control and absorption, which is what powers the Heart of Apocalypse, which made Darkseid its champion, giving him the power. When he made the Absolute Universe, Darkseid finally was able to convert an Earth into New Apocalypse by placing the Heart of Apocalypse in the center of this new Earth, and thanks to that, he became the Absolute Universe's King Omega. So this stuff is very important, and this is the stuff that everyone in this issue needs to know, since this is the big crux of the Absolute Universe and how it was created. It links up as well to loads of the stuff we saw in the Omega Act special from last week, which showed us the Heart of Apocalypse, just like I assumed it would, revealing that it would make the King Omega, and how that is the personification of all of the Omega energy in the heart. Darkseid is the absolute universe's King Omega, which means that the Prime universe does not have a King Omega just yet. The heroes glob onto this, thinking that they could get to the heart of Apocalypse that is currently gestating in the center of their own Earth and transform one of the heroes into the Prime Earth King Omega to combat Darkseid. Grodd and the others think that that's a terrible fucking idea, and Trapper knows that the heart will only serve Darkseid, and to change that, they would need to blast the heart with an immense amount of Omega energy to help restart it and pretty much factory reset it. This is where Booster Gold comes into the plot, as he still has Omega energy within his veins and the heroes want to use it, but Booster doesn't actually know that will do any good since it would unleash terrible things on the world. Which, you know, fair enough, I can understand not wanting to do that. The heroes want to know what would be unleashed and what would happen, and World Forger details how if the heart is rebooted, it would immediately start seeking out a champion, but not from the heroes, since as God puts it, they are too soft. So if the heroes go for the heart would defend itself by testing each member in a tournament. The Forger shows a series of rings around the heart, citing how each ring would be a higher level of challenge until they reach the middle and become champion. Flash doesn't really think that this would be much of a challenge, but the Quorum revealed that they would be fighting each other since only one can be the heart's champion and perhaps stand a chance against Darkseid. So I was quite worried that the setup for this might be a bit complex, as it involved, you know, Darkseid being a universe and creating another world, and the timelines are currently shattered thanks to what Grodd did, but boiling it all down into just a tournament arc between the heroes for, you know, the World Cup, the Heart of Apocalypse, it's just so good, it's so fucking smart, and as a fan of when animes do tournament arcs, I could not be more happy, and I'm guessing Scott Snyder is a bit of an anime fan himself, because this is a, you know, Dragon Ball Z tournament arc, if I ever saw one. The heroes learn, in theory, the champion could be able to revert everything back to how it was before Darkseid came, and Trapper wonders why Booster is even entertaining this idea. Booster says that he saw the absolute realm and the terror Darkseid is over there, so the only thing they can do to stop him is to find someone like him. Becoming frustrated with the heroes, Trapper asks if they do go through with this, would they be able to fill the fire pits to match Darkseid's power, and would they be able to show no mercy or compassion to one another? The heroes think about it, and after a moment, Superman tells him to forget it since they're not going through with this. Clark leaves the room and is later met by Batman and Wonder Woman, whom try and convince him the Earth really already belongs to Darkseid. They have all felt the changes over the last year alone. Clark asks what's stopping villains from following them into the heart, and that could lead to someone like Joker or Lex Luthor winning and becoming the champion. Batman refuses to let that happen, as Diana reminds Clark that he spent the last year turning the Phantom Zone into a place of healing, and they could put the villains in there for safekeeping. I love what Scott is doing here by bringing quite literally everything in the All-In titles and what they've been doing in the last year into this plot. You know, like the Phantom Zone stuff here, which Mark Waid did in his Action Comics run. It's bringing it all together, and it makes me, who read most of these projects, it feels extremely rewarding, because I'm like, oh, I know what that story he's talking about, and I know now how it connects up to this one. It just feels so rewarding. Clark asks who's going to protect the world while they are gone, and the others know the League are actually discussing that right now. Clark just needs to think about it. Instead though, Clark thinks about the vision Forger showed him and how the terrible sound reached his ears, which was the sound of every heartbeat on Earth, every different and unique beat suddenly becoming the exact same, the same as Darkseid's. I love the heartbeat idea here, since when you first hear it you think it could be a good thing, like, you know, everything is now in unison, everything's together, working together, but I like how Scott kind of frames and twists that, how each heartbeat is unique and creative and different to one another, and making them all the same is the death of creativity, the death of uniqueness. It's a real interesting take on Darkseid too. He wants it all to be the same, to be him, right down to the atoms. He wants everything to be exactly uniform and the same. Batman reminds Superman that it's all just a game they don't play against each other, but against Darkseid, and one they will all win together. The heroes get to work, as they only have one single week to prepare, so on day one, Mr. Terrific begrudgingly sends out his T-Spheres to round up every single supervillain across the world. I say begrudgingly because it's kind of made known in the text that he hates doing this, and I get the idea why he hates sending out his T-Spheres to basically arrest people who at that point hadn't done anything wrong. You know, it's that kind of like Minority Report sort of pre-crime sort of thing, which Mr. Terrific does not like, and I kind of understand why he would not want to do it, but it's for the betterment of the world at this point. One of the villains the T-Spheres visits is Lex, who is still at Nandra Parbat, which doesn't really kind of add up with what we saw in the most recent Superman issue, where he was attacked by the Absolute Legion and decided to leave. I mean, you could say that that happened right after he was attacked by the Karate Kid, and he was just about to leave and the T-Spheres found him, so I guess you could say it lines up, but it's very razor thin. On day 2, the heroes meet with the world leaders to come up with a plan for the people of Earth, and day 3 sees Superman address the world, promising the people they will win this tournament and save the world. And while he assures the world, Cyborg and the other heroes team with the world's most powerful companies like Supercorp, Wayne Enterprises, and Queen Industries to come and create mega arcs, using Brainiac tech to preserve cities and keep people safe just in case things get worse over the next week. Superman also explains that the Titans, along with Mr. Terrific, will be staying behind to help protect Earth. I love this sort of stuff in comics and generally any media because it shows some forethought has been put into all of this. They're not just like immediately going into battle and then just like, we'll get to like if the Earth gets destroyed a little later on. Scott here has like an idea in mind for like using like Brainiac tech to help, look after the people and preserve cities in case stuff gets really bad on Earth, and he's thinking about all of these sorts of things that I'm sure a lot of people would nitpick around, like, oh, why isn't this happening because Earth is being destroyed or something like that. So I like that there's that forethought has been had in regards to just like the people of Earth. On the 4th day, the heroes spend time with their families, and Clark can feel the world is scared, knowing Darkseid is already there under the surface, lingering. Lois assures him that he can do this, as on day 5, the heroes gather their armories and weapons, with Batman donning the Justice Buster 2, Diana retrieving the God Killer armor, Cyborg undergoing a Father Box upgrade, and Clark equipping the Dawnsday Knuckle Dusters. Being as ready as the heroes will ever be, they head for the Skataris Nexus, the passage into the center of the Earth, where Booster Gold is strapped to the bottom of a javelin, allowing him to fire the Omega energy right into the Nexus. So the book has a bunch of these really cool chapter pages throughout that this mysterious narrator uses to sort of fill in the gaps in what we don't see in the art and Scott's narration. And I actually love that it's a pretty simple way to keep the page number low of the book, because the book is quite a large page number here, and I like that these sort of fills in little things that we don't need to see, we just need to know happened. We don't actually have to see them on page, like here where the page says that the heart was stopped and the heroes are all sucked into a void where they see themselves win the heart and become the new god champion. The tournament then immediately begins, catching the heroes and us all off guard as Superman tries to blast through the arena, but is stopped by 3 giants, who demand that he wait for the other combatants. The other heroes all appear and they are all told that they have to pass a gauntlet to the other side and they'll move on to the next round, but if they take a wrong step, they will surely die. As the contest is about to begin, Billy Batson doesn't take it seriously, figuring he's going to be faster than Superman this time, but before he can even say his magical word, he is crushed to death by one of the giants. Damn, I wasn't sure they were going to be pulling any punches, but to do it like right here, right off the bat, we are just like losing heroes, that's really ballsy move, and hats off to Scott Snyder for actually doing that and actually being able to go through with that. Clark leads the heroes across the gauntlet, where Damage is taken out of the game alongside Adam Strange. Thanks to Jay Carrick's foot hitting a button on the ground, a portal is opened, unleashing Omega Demons made from all species of life into the battlefield. Their blasts take out Green Arrow, Blue Beetle, and a few others as the heroes rush the end zone, where Ambush Bug is killed, but Supergirl, Wonder Woman, Vixen, Zatanna, and Metamorpho manage to make it through the finish line. Superman continues holding back the Parademons, letting the others through the portal, but he soon realizes he hasn't seen Batman as the Dark Knight finally makes it into the end zone, but is then stabbed and killed by the Joker, who along with Lex, Giganta, Starro, Cheetah, and King Shark have somehow gotten out of prison. The League put them in and made it into the heart. I was wondering when the villains would factor into the story, being that they were on the leaderboards for this match and we'd seen them earlier on in the issue be all arrested. But obviously we're not told how they got here, and even the heroes are like, how the hell did they get out? So yeah, there's a little bit of fuckery going on here, and I'm intrigued to see what Scott Snyder has in store for us in terms of like, how did they get out? Who let them out? Because they're just going to add to the chaos of this event. Batman, with his dying breath, tells Superman to remember what he said, that this is all just a game. Lex, Joker, and the villains all make it through the portal as in a fit of rage, Superman blasts through the remaining parademons and speeds through the portal at Mach 7, making it to the final of 32 spots in the fight for the Heart of Apocalypse. Now, the list of heroes is a real fun one since we got what the leaderboards were a couple of weeks ago, and there were like, you know, the usual choices like your Batmans and your Supermans and all those sorts of things. But here it's kind of changed, and I guess that was the point. They didn't want to spoil who got into the fight, so people like Batman actually didn't get in, so we're left with rather interesting heroes like Plastic Man, Captain Atom, Giganta, and Etrigan. Because of this, it really changes how I think some of these fights will actually go now, and I'm really looking forward to every round thanks to that. There's going to be some new unique matchups in these fights, I think. At the Heart of Apocalypse, it is revealed that it is the one who has actually been narrating the book from the beginning, knowing exactly who's going to win this fight and when and where. We also see what's become of the heroes who died, quote unquote, and they're all turned to stone statues, almost like they are chess pieces or game pieces on a board. The Heart promises that there will be twists and turns and so many surprises coming, and we actually get a hint at one of these surprises as it's revealed the absolute Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman are within the Heart of Apocalypse, dubbed Darkseid's 3 Destroyers. I figured these guys would be getting in on the action because of course they would. This is a big universe crossover and they would be interacting with the Prime Universe counterparts, I imagine. But the reveal got me so fucking hyped because we don't actually get to see them fully, we just get to see their bottom part of their bodies and you can tell who it is. But I wonder if it's the actual Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman of the Absolute Universe, or are they warped creations, since they're called Darkseid's Destroyers, and I don't think any of those heroes would actually work on Darkseid's behalf, you know, at least willingly. They could have been tricked, but I don't see all three of them getting tricked all together. You know, one would break free from the conditioning and help the others, and maybe that's where it's going, maybe it's not. I'm intrigued to see what Scott Snyder's going to do with these characters, especially with his Batman, because he's been doing you know, absolute amazing things over on Absolute Batman. The Heart reveals that that's not all, as none of the heroes will actually win, because Darkseid has possessed one of them and plans on using their power to become champion of the Prime Universe. If the art is anything to go by, it's Booster Gold who is possessed, which makes a lot of sense being he's got Omega energy in him, so he would have direct ties to Darkseid. But it also could be a number of other people. It could be a Mr. X, since Time Trapper technically had some of that energy, so did Gorilla Grodd. It could even be someone who isn't even on that panel. It's still really exciting we have a mole in the group, but I do wonder if it is Booster, as the art implies, how could he affect the heroes in the tournament? Like, could he, I guess, rig the game somehow? Because I would assume he would have to be in the game to win it. Again, this is all stuff that's going to be covered in the tie-ins and the preceding issues of this event, and I can't wait to see what the writers have in store for us, because it just adds just that little bit of extra chaos, much like the villains just turning up to put a hamper on the heroes' plans did, and it's just that little extra layer that I can't wait to dive into. DC KO issue 1 kicked things off in a very, very big way for the tournament arc to end all tournament arcs. Scott Snyder brings together everything we have witnessed over the last year in DC's All-In initiative, rolling it together with a fantastic, grand, yet very terrifying prose that really hits home. This will not be like our other crisis level events, and whatever we thought this would be, it's going to be something completely different and much more. I'm all in on this event, and I can't wait to see what Scott and the other writers will do within the confines of this premise. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.